everybody. Before we jump into today's episode, we have two sponsors we want to say thank you to for supporting this show. The first one is Routine. You guys have heard me talk about Routine, honestly, back from the early days of the podcast, and it's still a product I use every single morning. They have a prompt for me here. I'm going to do a little impromptu on this ad read today because honestly, this is a product that I truly believe in. And so I'm just going to tell you guys exactly what I think and why. First and foremost, this is a stat that they shared, but when you sleep, you lose between a pound and a half of water. And most of that's just sweating while you sleep. I used to not know if that was actually true, to be honest. I felt like a pound to a pound and a half of water seemed like quite a bit while I slept. But the one thing I did constantly pay attention to when I started using Routine was just the fact that before using Routine, I always felt a little dehydrated in the morning. And I'm one of those people that when I get up really early usually. I work out. One of the first things I do is some form of fitness. It's just like what I do before everyone's awake. And so it's very easy for me to grab a coffee, pre-workout, an energy drink, something with caffeine in it, and just go. When I am good about using Routine, first, I basically they come in these little single serve packets. They contain half an organic lemon, a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar, Himalayan sea salt, all 6 essential electrolytes, and they have no sugar in them at all. A lot of hydration products are going to have sugar. So one of the things about Routine that I love is that there's no sugar in there. So when I am good about doing this consistently, I will take one of those single serve packets, I'll throw it in my mixer bottle, and whether I also put in a pre-workout or something with caffeine or I just drink that separately, I try to drink that first. And the days I do that, I do genuinely feel hydrated and just have a different form of clarity all morning. A lot of people have tried to make their own homemade versions of Routine, right? You see people they take a shot of the apple cider vinegar, they put a little sea salt, a little lemon in a drink. This is essentially that, but in a product that you can take with you on the go, have it ready for you first thing in the morning. I know me personally, when I'm groggy rolling out of bed, the last thing I want to do is, squeeze a lemon, cut lemons up, go get the apple cider vinegar, find my sea salt. I just rip this packet open, throw it in my water, drink it, and it's good to go. You can try yours today. If you haven't tried it yet and you've been listening to this podcast for years, just try the damn Routine. Give it a shot. You can use code ShaneWhite30 and get 30% off your first order. So you get 30% off by using code ShaneWhite30 and go to yourroutine.com. To make it even easier, I've added the link to yourroutine.com in the show notes. So just click on the show notes for this episode, click on the link to yourroutine.com, and don't forget to use code ShaneWhite30. All right, guys, today's episode is also brought to you by NeuroRoast. Again, I'm going to go a little off script here. NeuroRoast is a product that I also came across during this year of 2023. They are a coffee company that's helping you optimize your brain function and overall well-being. This is another product that, to be honest with you, when I first started working with it, I was a little on the fence. I was like, do I really want to have mushrooms in my coffee? Well, folks, I will tell you, when I use NeuroRoast, one of the things that has stood out to me the most is I'll back up. People that know me know that I have way too much caffeine, typically. One of the things this year I've done a good job of is cutting out alcohol. Not completely, but predominantly, I don't touch a lot of alcohol anymore. What I think I've actually done the other way, though, is add a lot more caffeine. So I do definitely drink too much caffeine. That's something I need to work on next year, is to try to minimize how much of that. But NeuroRoast is something that has actually helped me because of the way they've formulated their coffee. Like, unlike regular coffee, which is, still something I consume, but NeuroRoast specifically doesn't cause jitters or crashes. Mushroom coffee provides more balance and sustained energy, allowing you to stay focused and productive throughout the day. So the times I do use NeuroRoast, I'll be honest, I just don't feel that jittery, like, I'm jumping out of my chair or standing here at my desk jumping around feeling. So give NeuroRoast a try. They have some really good flavors. I'll be honest too, the two guys that started NeuroRoast are just really good dudes based out of New York, and they're hustling, and hopefully they can get some people to try NeuroRoast this holiday season by listening to this podcast. So for you folks who've been on the fence, I'm telling you, it tastes delicious. They've done a fantastic job of making this coffee not only be functional, but taste fantastic. And if you want to try NeuroRoast, you can use code ShaneWhite. So it's super simple, just ShaneWhite at checkout. you'll also get 30% off. So if you go to neuroroast.com, and once again, I have added that to the show notes. So just click into the show notes while you're listening to this episode. You can click on NeuroRoast link directly. Don't forget to use code just Shane White, and you'll get 30% off your order. Hope you guys love both these products. I'm trying to not only bring you guys products that I use, but that I believe in on the podcast. I'm not taking ad reads for any brands that I don't really believe in. So anyway, hope you guys love both those products, yourroutine.com and neuroroast.com. I've added those links to the show notes. I hope you guys love it. And I got an awesome guest coming up right after this. My biological age is actually 26.6, which is wild, right? That would mean I'm my body is 7.3 years younger than my chronological age. All right, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Shane White Show. This is going to be the first episode back. I've been on a little hiatus. I'll have to go back and look, but today's November 6th, and I've taken a nice break from the podcast. Not that I needed a break from the podcast. I've loved this podcast so much. It's been as much of a passion project as it has been just something I truly love. But we had our third child. We had a little daughter, and between the craziness of having 3 under 3 and also, obviously my day job with Noble, the podcast was the thing. I decided to just, let's not push super hard on it. Let's not spend over index on having that. So it's like every baby I've had a little bit longer of a break each time, and this one was well deserved and needed, but we're back. And this one is going to be a solo one, but honestly, this might be one of the most exciting things I've ever talked about on the podcast. I'm going to try to make this really interesting. I've never done this before, but I'm actually going to record my phone and show you guys the thing I want to show you today. And obviously, if you've read the title, you'll know what this means. I'm going to show you guys a little look, like my actual data, which, putting this on the internet, don't know if this is the best thing to do. I'm sure people will scream at me for doing this, but I think it's incredible to show you guys what I'm seeing. And again, it's a solo podcast about the Whoop blood advanced labs is what they're calling it, but it's really like blood testing. And I'll just dive in. The reason I wanted to share this is I think if you know me to any degree, I'm obsessed with health and wellness. And over the last couple of years, I've probably tripled down on that to a degree, especially when it comes to just the things I'm doing in my life to try to be healthier. And I've talked on here a little bit about Whoop and Oura, and I've played with both products. And I've been on Whoop on and off since 2019, mostly on though. I've had Oura. Oura, I actually love the data, like the way it looks in the app and the way you can see it easily, especially with sleep and all the different, like every cut of data is really, really, really good. They do a great job of that. I just don't love the use case. Like I don't love the ring. I already wear a wedding band and it just felt, I don't know. But I honestly, I think the data for people, I would actually argue that the Whoop the Oura might be better if you're just focused on sleep and you need to just understand details around your sleep. It's just easier to digest. The Whoop's gonna be better, I think, for just overall longevity and performance. And there are some things I don't love about what the data shows you in sleep. The biggest thing with Whoop, and I'm just diving right in here, I don't love that you can't see like your daily REM, your daily deep, and how that is trended over a week or a month or a year. You have to ask the AI, which we'll talk about, which has gotten phenomenal. And so like today I actually tested it, and I'll show you guys what I did. And so there's ways to see it, even if they're predetermined charts and graphs don't show you. But ultimately, I think Whoop is heading in a direction that I'm really impressed with. I think they're going to be, if not the leader, one of the absolute market leaders in this personalized health 3.0, which is something, Peter Attia, I feel like, kind of coined. So we'll dive in. I think to kind of set the precedent for everybody, one of the things that is important to know is that if you're someone who has tried one of these wearables or not, the biggest thing to know, especially about Whoop, is that before advanced labs, I'll give you guys my kind of 2 cents on it. Number one, I've been very impressed with what it has taught me. One of the things I've had to personally be careful of is to not allow some of these data points to overwhelm me on a daily basis. Everything I read, a lot of professionals in the longevity and health space would say, waking up and looking at these trackers on a daily basis to then determine what you do today, unless you're a very high performing athlete and you're trying to avoid, even small injuries as you prepare for a major event, is not the right way to use these devices. And really the way we should be using these devices is looking at longer term trends. So a little bit more passive, which I transparently am horrible at. So for example, how am I doing this week? How have I been doing this month? How have I been doing the last 6 months across a lot of these key data points? I think most people dive right in. They're overwhelmed with the Whoop data, and they also just don't know what to do with all of this data. And so one of the things I've been preaching, mostly privately to friends and family, is that this data is really interesting. So like the Whoop data, really to simplify it, it tracks so many things. So if you're someone who has never tried one of these, I'll try to give you an overview. And I'm going to open my app and actually just look at it. So in its simplest form, they try to break it down and I'm not going to record this quite yet, but I will here in a second. They try to break it down into its simplest form of sleep, recovery, and strain. Sleep, pretty obvious. It gives you a daily score. It tracks hours needed. You know what, actually, let's back up. I'm going to screen record this because why not do this? And we're going to do it I'm going to try to bookmark this. So we're going to screen record my phone and we're just going to run through it. Okay. So 6:15, boom. Okay. All right. So like I said, I'm going to back up. 3 scores: sleep, recovery, and strain. Sleep. If you click on sleep, and I'm recording, and I'll have this running side by side here, you get a daily sleep score percentage. You get all this data. They're tracking based off of my daily strain, so basically how hard my heart worked today and days previously, really. How much sleep they thought I needed versus how much I got. The most probably the most important metric that they think now is sleep consistency. So how consistent are you going to bed and waking up, and how far off are those 2 times? Those actually are a bigger indicator of things like HRV and resting heart rate now, they think, than just getting hours of sleep. They used to think, you always needed 8 hours of sleep, or getting more than 8 hours was good. And now I think a lot of the studies that I've read would say the opposite, where you don't always want to necessarily get more if it's going to make you be really inconsistent. It'll throw off your circadian rhythm, which will make all kinds of issues happen for days after. Sleep efficiency, which basically looks at, okay, let's say I slept 8 hours, or I was in bed for 8 hours last night. Out of that, what percentage of the time was I actually in good sleep, and how much of that was I awake? It also tracks my stress overnight. So as I'm scrolling down here, you can see last night's sleep. For everyone, we have a newborn, so we have a 7-week-old, and just keep that in mind because last night, went to bed later. Long story short, my oldest got sick. Had to clean all that up. By the time we got everything cleaned up into bed, I was in bed way later than I normally am. I went to bed at 11:26 last night, and then I've been doing the middle of the night bottle. So I was up for 51 minutes last night, and it looks like I woke up at. You can scroll over here. So I woke up at 1:41, and looks like I went to bed at 2:29, and then I actually slept in a little bit, but I went to bed at 5:57. So as you're watching my phone here, it's kind of cool. You can click on the awake part, shows me how long I was awake, light sleep, deep. One of the things I've learned from Brian Johnson, which is really interesting, is the vast majority of your deep sleep is going to come in the very beginning. I don't remember the specific time frame, but even if you look at this, you can see the vast majority of my hour and 21 of deep all came right here in the very beginning, and just a couple over there to the right. And then REM. The reason I'm showing you guys this is just to show you, the plethora of data, hours of sleep I got versus what I need. And the need is a combination of my healthy minimum, which is, I don't actually know what, I don't know if that's for everybody. I'd have to compare against other people, but they put me at 7 hours and 36 minutes plus the recent strain from workouts and just movement put me at, I needed 16 additional. And then I have over 2 hours and 7 minutes of sleep debt, which for me, that's a lot. If I'm between an hour and a half, that's kind of normal. Sleep consistency, so 80%, which is fucking awful for me, transparently. Normally I'm 90, 95, 99% sleep consistency. And that's just due to, honestly, going to bed later. Sleep efficiency, that's just going to track, sleep and awake and a percentage of your total sleep time. So you can see, guys, it's just so much information. Sleep performance trended out. This is over a week. And then you can click into any of these and then see that by month over the 6-month period. And these trends are really the ones that I think are probably the most important. So they do that for sleep, which is, it's a huge piece. Recovery, so they track things like heart rate variability, resting heart rate, respiratory rate, sleep performance. I also there's a journal in here, and you can track, I think there's hundreds and hundreds of things that's going to ask you every morning, did you do? So recovery insights, like I actually have a lot of these tracked. And what's cool is over time, I take like Vyvanse, like an ADHD medication. So like the days I take it, my recovery typically is 8% better. The nights I have an evening snack, and usually I log evening snack if it's something just small and healthy, like a yogurt and an apple. My recovery is up 7. If I get more than 79% sleep performance. So if I have a good night's sleep, no shock there. This is an interesting one for me, caffeine. When I log caffeine closer to, and this has actually changed recently, but closer to bed, I actually tend to have a better recovery score, which is weird. But you can see, and it goes all the way down to negative. So for me, currently the biggest negatives are late meals and takeout. And typically those would be the same. Like if I were doing a late meal, it's after the boys go down and it's a takeout meal. And both of those have an 8 and a 9% recovery negative impact, respectively, which is a profound amount. And then things that haven't been logged enough times are down below. But when I was drinking, alcohol was always number one. And it was typically anywhere from 9 to 12%. And that was a big eye-opener to me. So what's interesting over time is late meals are starting to become a thing that now I think about all the time, to the point where I was thinking about alcohol the same way. It actually makes me not want to eat later at night because I know what it does, especially if we get something that's, not as healthy and it's like takeout. So I'm showing you that just to show you the plethora of data here. So it's, a lot of just biometric data. Then strain, we have like, this is really cool. And they updated this earlier this year, but just how much time have I spent strength training this week? Heart rate zones, total steps. Steps is a whole can of worms for me. I've actually been talking to the Whoop team. All of you who know me will probably laugh at that. Just to give everyone high level, I've tested the Whoop on my right wrist. That's where I predominantly like to wear it because I typically wear, some sort of wristwatch on my left wrist. And I also have a bicep band. The right wrist for me, because it's my dominant hand, it's the thing I'm moving the most. I'm using it with my mouse, keyboard, using it as I move my hand right now. It's definitely the dominant hand. It's garbage for steps. It just overcounts my steps. And I know that because I also wear a pedometer and I always audit those. When I wear it on my left wrist, it's pretty good. It's pretty close. Maybe a little higher than my pedometer, but pretty close. Problem there is then I can't wear a watch. And I like wearing watches. I'm at this point in life, I just am so used to having a watch on my wrist. It's weird not to have one. The bicep is awesome. The bicep is almost exactly what my pedometer is. I've just found out recently, though, that for the bicep, you really don't want to sleep with it on the bicep. It's really good for strength training, like weightlifting as well. It'll help to lower the step. Like sometimes when you wear it on your wrist while you're lifting weights, it'll jack the step count up just because you're moving your wrist a lot while you lift weights. So I actually put it on my bicep when I lift weights, and then part of me wanted to keep it on my bicep most days. It's just annoying that every time I go to bed, I switch it to my wrist. They just say it's more accurate. That's what all their algorithms are based off of, is on the wrist. So I try to remember to put it on the wrist at least at night. And like today, for example, I am wearing it on my right wrist. So I know today, like the steps will be high. So that's one thing that's been kind of annoying. So anyway, it does all of that, which I've always thought is really cool. It's just a ton of data into your health. Then earlier this year, they launched this thing called HealthSpan. And I'll flash this up. It's November 6th. So my birthday is in 2 days. I turn 34. and if you see my phone right now, it's really cool. I mean, it takes in all these things they worked with the Buck Institute on to figure out, hey, what are the key areas that if you can track these and improve, we can actually correlate it to what they're calling a whoop age. It's really just like your age in biomarker language. So it covers sleep, strain, fitness. The big things in here are sleep consistency. So that's like one of the most important. So for me, that's actually helped slow my aging 2.6 years. Hours of sleep, this is by far and away for me one of the biggest things to improve. It's not good. I'm actually, it's like speeding my aging up 0.6 years. They have for strain heart rate zones. So, basically zone 2 or high heart rate zones, time and strength training, and then overall steps. For fitness, it's VO2 max. VO2 max is one of the most important ones, and the Whoop now tracks that. So again, if you just throw a metric out to me, the Whoop probably tracks it at this point. So VO2 max, resting heart rate, and lean body mass. And then this is really cool. So it has a trended view. So basically what this is showing you as you guys look at this, it says I'm 34 now, which is funny because I'm not yet, but I am very soon. And then it's showing, depending on all the things that I'm doing, this is that feedback loop that I felt like it was missing and that I'm really pumped about. And then I'll get into the advanced labs, which is really cool. It's showing me that because of all the things I've been doing over the last 6 months, my biological age is actually 26.6, which is wild, right? That would mean my body is 7.3 years younger than my chronological age. And it shows you your pace of aging. So that was the Whoop age trend. And then it also has pace of aging. So this one doesn't look as good. When the feature first came out, I was trending really good. I actually had a couple weeks in here where I got below, like I was negative 0.1, which just means my biological age was actually my Whoop age was actually trending younger as I'm getting older, which is just like, it's cool in general for you able to pull that off. And then obviously with the baby, things have gotten a lot worse and actually have been creeping up to damn near the 1x, which is basically, I'm just not sleeping enough, and it's wearing me out. So this is really cool. Even just this is taking all of the data, which if I back up a couple of years, just seeing all that biometric data was cool, but sometimes I didn't know how actionable it was. Then the journal made things more like behaviors impactful. So for me, one of the biggest things was it helped me to improve my sleep consistency for sure. And the biggest one was honestly, I haven't had alcohol in almost a year. I would argue the biggest reason is because of Whoop. So that's a big piece. And then they just launched Advanced Labs. When they announced this, this is the thing I texted like my family and friends, and I said, finally. So this is the thing. I feel like as we move further and further to health, medicine 3.0 is what I was looking for there. The more important tying in biomarker, like blood biomarkers, is going to be. The reason I kind of cracked into this, just to give everyone a really quick download before I dive into this Advanced Labs feature. I got offered a free blood test a little over a year ago, back in February of 24, by this company called Mala. Really cool guys I met on LinkedIn, Morris, and I really appreciated it. $500 full panel blood test. I had never had a blood panel like that done before. And it was really eye-opening. For me, the things that came back were testosterone numbers were lower, which now that I'm with Whoop and doing the blood test with them, I'm finding out that's probably just honestly due to my lack of sleep. And it's just not allowing my body to release as much testosterone, which is also ironic because I have 3 kids in 3 years, so something's working. And then the bigger one, like the biggest takeaway for me from that first blood test was my APOB number was really high. And APOB, for all the dummies like me out there, is it's basically the particles that are floating around in my blood that could eventually turn into basically like a blockage. And it's one of the best indicators to identify whether you are at high risk of having some sort of cardiac event. So think a stroke, a heart attack. And basically those particles are what would create plaques in your arteries, in your veins, I think. arteries. I don't know which one, if it's different for both. Obviously, this is where I rely on my sister for a lot of the medical terminology. But long story short, it's a number, like the lower the better. And my number was, I believe, 120. I'll actually dive in here and look. I can actually, this is really cool. Let's do APOB. Yeah, it was 120. So I'm diving into the thing here. But anyway, 120, which is almost, it's over double of what I would really minimally want the numbers to be at my age. And so it hit me a long time ago. I'm like, if Whoop can figure out a way to tie in blood markers, then all of a sudden, all the things you do on a daily basis, this 24/7 tracking, understanding your sleep, understanding, like I track all of my my FitnessPal nutrition information feeds through Apple Health into my Whoop. They launched also, I'll flash this up. This, like, it's basically a partnership with OpenAI. So now any page on here, you can start to reach out, and it's honestly gotten really, really damn good. So I'll actually click on one of these to show you guys. So like now tying all this stuff together and having AI as a part of this, it's just incredible, to be honest with you guys. You guys are watching this, the conversation history. This actually doesn't see. Let's see if this is, I don't know what all these Whoop Coach things are for. The recent history thing here, this is looking a little clunky now that I'm doing this live. Let's see. Oh, it might be because I've been on a bunch of pages with you guys. Okay, long story short, I was asking it about here, I'll just show you live. Okay, ready? Can you show me my average REM sleep per night over the last 7 days, and also my weekly average versus the previous 4 weeks? So that's not something that you can easily see in the app, but now Whoop and this AI model are taking my data, so that all this data is being uploaded. And now look at this. Here's your REM sleep breakdown. My REM sleep over the last, so it's by day, just the total amount of REM sleep. So last 7 days, I've averaged 1 hour and 35 minutes. And then how cool is this? Past 5 weeks, so hour 35. I mean, you can see here, this is back October 11th through the 17th. This is before we switched to, basically I started doing nighttime bottles for our daughter. And you can see the drop off. I mean, that's just one example of just some really wild stuff. So anyway, that's all proactive. I read a white paper today from Will, the CEO of Whoop, who, like, they're working now to make proactive things. So as the data comes in and the AI reviews it, they're going to be able to flag things to you as a user. So I think that's wild, the AI stuff. And then they launched this. Now, what this is going to do, to give everyone a rundown, they're testing 65 biomarkers, which is a lot. So it's so super easy. I filled out a lab report, or like a request. You pay for it transparently, way cheaper. I think it was $150 for me to do this test. And like I said, the one I was going to do before, and I have to compare the two, but it was it was $500 was the last one, which I didn't pay for, but I know that's how much it costs. And if you don't want to do it through Whoop, that's fine too. You can upload a test here, which is really cool, and then it'll analyze. And that's what I did. So I actually uploaded this, you can see here, Mela full blood panel. And then it'll go through so you just make an appointment through the app, which is really cool. It's with Quest Diagnostics. There's a bazillion locations around the country. When I did it, I was able to also like pick any time, basically. Like they just have unlimited amounts of time that you can go. You have to fast. That was the most brutal part. I waited way too long in the morning to go do my test, and I'm a caffeine addict, so I was dying. So long story short, you go do it, and then the blood results start flowing in. So I was actually seeing these numbers come in before I got, so the process, just to back up, you go do the blood test, you go to Quest, do the blood test. You start getting blood marker data back. Once it's done, in about a week, they have doctors that are connected with Whoop, and they're using the AI models as well, I'm sure. And they give you a rundown. So they basically like review your labs, give you a rundown. All of that's amazing. That is incredible. And we'll walk through some of mine, and I'll explain why this is so cool. They could have just stopped there, and that's phenomenal. But what I was so impressed with is then Whoop takes it a step further. And then Whoop decides, hey, instead of just like having a blood test lab report in here, what can you walk away from this blood test learning and then apply it to things that you can track to improve this? So for example, like they gave me a game plan that then goes into, like basically you just click add, and when it goes into my journal, which I'll show you. And once it's in your journal, you can start to track daily behaviors that then go to improve it. So for example, let's do this. I'm in here, you're looking at this, add a range. Let's click on this. I tested high for this I'm going to butcher half this stuff. Eosinophil, which basically is a biomarker that's saying that I'm inflamed, and it's due to allergies. So interestingly enough, that's been consistent with even the last time I got tested. The other one was hemoglobin, so basically like low in iron. This can also be, there's so much to share with you guys as you're watching this, but what's cool is it explains what hemoglobin is. This is for every single of these 65. You could open why it matters, relationships to other biomarkers, so other blood results in here, relationships to Whoop metrics. So it actually explains like how, consistent higher resting heart rate with low HRV can reflect low hemoglobin and reduced oxygen carrying capacity. And then how to improve it. I mean, just some wild stuff that explains how all this works. So they call it the things that are not great. It also breaks out the sufficient ones. APOB is the one I was really worried about, but I was so pumped about this because for me, going from 120 and then fast forward a year and a half and going all the way down to 78, 78 is not where I want to be. I really need to get this lower. But what a huge relief for me that it didn't keep going up, right? And it actually reversed itself. And that's a pretty monumental decrease. So you see all of these different metrics. So I don't want to bore you with all of the details of each of these. I think it's incredible. It's really overwhelming with the amount of information, but I'm slowly but surely like going through each of these to learn. And I think that's something really cool that I don't know how you would really do this on your own. So you can go through each one. That's what I've been doing. Okay. That in and of itself is wild. The other thing that I found to be really complicated is before you get this like PDF report when you get a blood test done. If you're not putting that into an Excel sheet, a Google sheet, putting into something that you can track over time, it's really hard to know what your numbers were last time and how to keep track of it. So that's the other thing I would say too. I'll go here, like just the fact that now my blood test will go in here and I'll be able to see this graph over time. That in and of itself, it seems so simple, but it's really not being done in a good way today. This is a 27-minute solo podcast, so I'm going to go here. So the next thing that's wild is you scroll down. This is the clinical report. So what's wild is the doctor that reviewed this, she not only saw my blood results, obviously, but she also has all my Whoop data, which is fucking nuts. Like you stop and think about that. This is where all this stuff comes full circle to me and becomes monumental. Like this is where people's lives can change. This is where you can become healthier, live longer, and honestly like buck some of the healthcare system. I think annual physicals because of this are going to become less important. And also they just don't make sense. I'll go on my soapbox here for a minute. Like when I go to the doctor once a year and they test my blood pressure, like they have no clue what my exercise this last week, my diet, sleep, anything this last week, let alone this morning, consisted of, and then taking that number and using that number to make decisions for the next year versus something like Whoop where it's on you 24/7. So she reviewed all this, saw all that, and then she basically gave me key insights. So like she said, my testosterone numbers, like my sleep debt is blunting my anabolic drive. I have this mild anemia pattern. My lipids are better, they're improving, but there's things I could do to optimize for longevity, the allergy thing, and then vitamin D. I don't know if I realized this one. Let's see. Oh, interesting. I didn't even realize this one. I missed that the first time around. So, and then she gives me optimal things. All that's awesome. At the end of the day, it comes down to this. Then they give you an action plan. And so like literally these things now are in my Whoop journal. So like wearing a nose strip at night to help with the sinus and allergy thing. The biggest one is now I'm on a DHA EPA omega supplement that's going to help hopefully lower my APOB. They gave me a zone 2 heart rate target of 210 minutes a week. This one's gonna be brutal for me, and I'm trying, and my strength coach is working with me on this one. A caffeine curfew to cut off caffeine earlier in the day. That'll help with sleep. That'll help with anabolic release. That'll help with a lot of things. And then again with APOB, another thing that'll help is they want me to add a post-meal walk after my largest meal for 10 or 15 minutes. So anyway, there is so much I could keep going on with this. I hope kind of showing you guys this really kind of gives you guys insights of how this works and how excited I am for this. Just to kind of bounce back, like I added those to my action plan. I decided that. And then now when I go to my journal, like these are the top, your custom plan. So avoid caffeine. Like if I cut it off before noon, which I did not today, so I will do that. I did take my omega-3 supplement today. Walked after meal I have not done. And then if I wear my nose strip tonight, I'll hit yes. Just that alone over time. And then I bought the package where every quarter, so every 3 months, I'll get my blood work done. I'll be able to go back in here and see if that actually improved my blood markers. So just some really cool stuff. I'm going to stop the recording on my phone. Yeah, I'm fired up. I hope I sound fired up. I think it's unbelievable. I think for Whoop, it's one of those things where they're trying to get this out to everybody. This isn't sponsored by them. I've been a huge fan for a long time. I'm trying to tell friends and family because I think it's probably the most accessible way to get your blood work done, have it tie into your sleep and your strain and your recovery and just understand your health. I think it's fucking awesome. So bravo to Whoop. I'm going to give them a big shout out. I think this is really, really cool stuff. And yeah. Well, if any of you guys have questions, you want to pick my brain anymore, if you want to get in on the wait list, also reach out to me. Happy to send you the link. I can get you to the front of the line. If you want to try Whoop for the first time, I do have like an affiliate link, which would give you a free month and me a free month. So if you want to try Whoop, let me know. I'll send that to you. I'll add that to the show notes too, just so you have it. And thanks for watching today. And I hope this is kind of cool. I'm excited to put the phone video next to this video so you guys can actually see how the blood work looks in the app. And yeah. All right, everybody. Well, thanks for listening. Glad to be back. Actually have some really cool guests coming up that I'm excited to have on the show. And we'll be back soon. All right, guys. See ya.